Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm Stefan.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Keep singing, Stefan.
Unicorn.
Okay, so it was my birthday this week, and Michael has bought me a generic Woolworths mud cake. Now, he put a candle in it, and he lit the candle on fire with a match.
I almost set the bed on fire. Happy birthday. I hope you enjoy your $4.50 Woolworths mud cake. Make a wish, Ben.
I wish for this to be over.
Da, 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 da,
Dun, dun, dun.
You actually want to eat some?
Anyway, we are Animating in Threes, an animation podcast where some animators talk about some animation stuff, whether that be a movie or some series, from an analytical point of view.
And sometimes we buy cake.
Stefan, one of these days, can you pick a cartoon that's not an adrenaline-fueled nightmare?
No!
Yeah, so this week we will be talking about the 2009 anime film Redline. So we'll be changing things a bit up. So because we don't want to drive every single week, we decided to double up on episodes. So for now on, for one episode we'll be doing animation news, and one episode we'll be doing what we've been watching.
For the three of you, basically nothing will change. No, but we're gonna do 2 a week, and then cut them up, and then release 1 a week. The way I'm describing it is more complicated than it sounds.
It's all because we want to save fuel, pretty much.
Exactly, so Ben doesn't have to drive 9.5 hours to get here every week.
Anyway, so animation news. Only one notable thing happened this week, and that is that the voice actor for Minnie Mouse has passed away.
Oh yeah, voice of Martin Prince in The Simpsons as well. I don't remember her name though.
Oh yeah, so her name is Russie Taylor. So Russie Taylor supplied the voice for Minnie Mouse 30 years ago. Wow, that's a long time.
Wow.
And she's done projects for television, theme parks, animated shorts, and films.
Who was it originally? Because I remember being surprised, like years and years ago, learning that Walt Disney was the original voice for Mickey Mouse.
I don't know who it was originally. They probably just got some random person off the street to just do squeaking when they didn't really talk back in the day. Oh, also, last week we missed the trailer for a show called 12 Forever. It's basically this girl she's growing up. She just turned 12 and she doesn't want to grow up, so she has this imaginary world. The trailer came out for it a week ago. Yet
It's already released.
Yeah, a few days ago they dropped the whole thing on Netflix. 22 episodes, 20 minutes each.
This show, I love its geometric style, and I think it looks really fun, and I like the messages it's trying to convey, even from the trailer. But it looks really sad, and I don't want to watch it.
But it has Matt Berry in it.
But it looks really sad.
Oh, I'll watch anything with Matt Berry in it.
He's like this evil woman devil thing.
Yeah, but
as the main antagonist.
But who's he playing?
An evil woman.
I know who Matt Berry is.
Yeah,
that looks fun.
Michael, what other animation news do you have?
I mentioned this briefly last week, but it was long after we actually did the animation news segment.
And I
so
had to edit it out as well.
So you had to edit it out. Which I saw some production footage from a 2019 animation called Klaus. Which is using a new 2-dimensional like light rendering technology in order to simulate how light would fall across a 2-dimensional object to make it look 3-dimensional. And it's kind of it's experimenting with this new animation style to tell the story of a postman in a snowy village trying to get people to use the mail system.
That looks gorgeous. Like, I saw it and
does.
I thought it looked like a way more refined Paperman.
The thing is, Paperman was three-dimensionally animated and
Yes.
then
2D
rotoscoped.
on top.
It
Yeah.
wasn't rotoscoped.
Oh, it wasn't rotoscoped.
We'll probably get into this one day, but just very quickly. So they got a program to actually fill in those lines by itself, but it's in a much more complicated
So
way
it's
than
like
traditional.
like an auto line work and cell shading kind of
So
thing.
it's kind of rotoscoping where they draw over it, but then for the next however many frames, it fills in by itself.
Okay.
It's really interesting, and like they can. I don't want to explain it here because I haven't really researched into it, and I just watched this one short about it. But it's really interesting.
Basically magic.
Do we try and be an informative podcast?
Sometimes.
Because we just basically said that like adaptive cell shading is magic. I don't know how it works. What do you come here for?
Anything.
Get on my back!
Okay, so now we'll be talking about the 2009 anime film Redline,
Okay.
which Stefan will be presenting.
So, Redline is a 2009 sci-fi racing anime film produced by Studio Madhouse and was the feature-length directorial debut of Takashi Kyoke.
Can you say his name again, please?
Takashi Kyoke.
Say it again, please.
And once more with feeling.
Takashi Kyoke.
All together now!
Takashi Kyoke!
You said it way better than I did.
I know.
The film famously took 7 years to make and incorporated over 100,000 unique traditionally made drawings. It premiered at the 2009 Lecaro Film Festival after several production delays before getting a Japanese-wide release in 2010.
So it really took 7 years to make. Ooh,
Yeah,
Is that from Inception or literally the animation?
So it started in 2003.
What started?
Like production.
Oh, wow.
Look, when you watch it, it shows.
And then the rest is just hard work. And apparently they had to keep delaying it. It was originally going to be released in 2008. And then it was 2009, 2010. Because...
This is a 2009 film.
Yeah, but it was released in 2010.
So theatrically released 2010. Okay, my bad.
Because a lot of films like do pre-releases for festivals like long before they're actually theatrically released.
Just like the bloody Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared series that is meant to be on YouTube by now, but isn't.
Is Adam Elliott's Ernie Biscuit up yet?
Yeah, it's on his website.
Yeah.
Okay, because I remember he finished it in like 2015 and it wasn't available until like 9 months ago or whatever.
No, it was available a bit longer
We
ago,
asked him about it.
I watched it in third year of uni, 2017. You just haven't looked at his website.
You just want to mention Adam Elliott as many times on this podcast as you can, aren't
Yep.
you?
Adam Elliott, sponsor us.
It's like Bloody Mary. Like if you say his name enough, you'll invoke him.
Ah.
That's not how people work. No, okay, but the thing about this film that really, it famously took 7 years because at this stage, especially in the 2000s, anime films were very much a streamlined, like, get them done quickly, get them done high quality, just churn them out kind of thing. Whereas this film took ages to make.
Yeah.
And it looks vividly different from anything else that Japan animation really produced at the time.
That's what I was going to mention because, like we said, we all have varying degrees of like experience in watching anime. I was always under the impression that there was pretty much like a unified, cohesive visual style to anime, which was always kind of strange because I've only really watched a lot of kind of Western and European animation, and the stereotype is that they all have very quite distinct animation styles that are incredibly kind of idiosyncratic and indicative of their creators or their creative teams. But Japanese animation always seems like it has a unified aesthetic. That's why I really appreciated this one because it looked so completely different, not just in like character design, but in like shading and colors and shadows
and proportions, everything.
Yeah, it looked absolutely incredible. Yeah, we'll get more into the aesthetics later, but...
Yeah, so a bit about the director. So Takashi Kyoke is an animator and film director who was hired by Madhouse as an in-between animator immediately after leaving high school. So his animation style is renowned for its unique blend of realism, hyper-exaggeration in perspectives and proportions, and its emphasis on action and high-impact energy. Which
yes.
And also, how he does silhouettes has a very comic tone to it, where it's got strong blacks on everything.
Yeah, I was going to mention really
like
heavily inked blacks to the point when like the whole point in like graphic novel art is that you do really strong kind of really dark inked blacks. So if you're going to color it later or send it to your colorist, the colors really pop.
Yeah.
Which really helps this film. It really sets it apart. It looks like it looks like a graphic novel in motion. It's really interesting.
That's what I've been saying for the past week. How dare you steal my thing?
Ben says it looks like a graphic novel in motion, and I find that really interesting.
Michael said it
Hooray.
much better, though.
It was my birthday.
It's
Be
his
nice
birthday,
to me.
Stefan.
Now I'm a terrible
You come into his house.
You came into my house! Okay, so his first directing role was for the title sequence of a 2000s live-action film called Party 7. Now, I've seen it, and apparently the live-action film is terrible, but the title sequence is amazing, because he has...
Did you watch the whole film?
No, just
Is
the...
it
Just
the
title
film
sequence.
for S Club 7?
No, it's not, but it
Why
might as
not?
well be.
Okay.
Drink up, falling in love. Is that that's 11?
Yes, that is.
yeah.
No, but it's got that same thing where whenever, like, the characters are dancing or they wipe their hands across the screen, it goes into really extreme perspectives where the hand almost looks like it's through this camera.
Yeah, that I can see the trajectory from that into Redline.
Yeah, like, it's really...
When-
whenever he animates something, you can tell it's him.
Yeah, when they drive so fast that they warp light around them.
He has a very... like, they've called him, like, an auteur animator, in which he hasn't done many directorial roles, but whenever he animates a scene, you can tell that he's
Is he an
animating.
animator himself, or is he like an animation director?
Yeah, as I said, he started doing in-between animation for Madhouse right after leaving high school, so he's done countless productions. I've seen all the things he's done. He's done, like, more than 30 series.
Can I
Oh
ask?
wow. Okay.
No, I was going to ask. This seems like quite a starter question that I really should have asked in Akira. But how is anime animated? Because it just seems. No, I'm serious. Because it just seems to be. Because Western animation, I can wrap my head around because I've done it before. But Japanese animation, it just seems to, especially in dialogue scenes, it just seems to hold on frames while they do lip syncing. Is it literally just a hand drawn frame? And
Okay, so most, like, nowadays, modern animation films, it's all digital based and it uses the same principles that Western animation would use. Redline and Akira are traditional.
Oh, okay. You can kind of tell in Redline. Oh no, especially in Akira, you can tell.
Redline, definitely, everything is handmade. The only things that are digital is when it does certain light effects with its overlays and whatnot. Because you can't get those overlays with traditional colouring techniques. But otherwise, all the inking and all the really grimy colours, that's all hand done.
Oh yeah, especially like we always mention the background mats. Like they're beautiful too.
Yeah, especially in Redline, it has very strange, like, grayscale. Like, everything's grayscale, but then there'll be, like, really harsh-coloured cars and vehicles on that grayscale map.
Yeah, the entire film, while it was very colourful and it does use those dark blacks to juxtapose, or contrast the bright colours, it does seem kind of washed out a little bit.
I think that works well for it, because when it goes vivid, it goes very vivid.
Yeah, because a lot of the dialogue and a lot of just the expository scenes, what little there are, were quite, like, desaturated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was surprised because usually when you go for that comic book, inked aesthetic, you don't opt for desaturation, you'd opt for saturation, the opposite.
Yeah. So, in terms of directorial, he then worked on the pilot for Afro Samurai. Oh no.
Sounds awesome.
If you ever seen this pilot, it is insane. Like, the silhouettes are taken to, like, 20 billion times.
I think I've
Everything
heard
you've
of it.
showed us besides Garden of Words has basically been this.
Yeah, but it's crazy.
Just a Technicolor nightmare.
And he did the pilot for the Iron Man anime that they did.
Okay.
There was an Iron Man anime?
Yeah, it looks super, super insanely detailed, and that's why it only went to pilot.
I gotta look at that because I've never seen it.
Aside from his directorial works, he's been a part of many other, like, anime films and series. So, he also worked on, if any of you have heard of Lupin the Third, it's a very famous Japanese character. He's basically like a super thief.
Lupin?
Lupin.
I don't know if I have
Is he a
or
wolf?
No, he's just...
Are you just getting that from Harry Potter?
Yeah. I mean, also, like, lupus and lupin, it means wolf.
But he's just a thief, and
Okay.
he has...
Does he steal wolves?
No, it's got nothing to do with wolves. I'm sure it probably means something about wolves. I haven't seen the anime or anything.
Rewatches
But-
the anime. Oh yeah, it's
Oh,
got
it's
everything
filled,
to
it's
do with
filled
wolves.
with wolves.
It's not filled with
How did
wolves.
I miss it? The plot is completely wolf-centric.
I'm sure it's not.
Everyone is a wolf.
No, but he directed the third and fourth movies of theirs, and it really shows how it takes, like, Lupin has a more cartoony sort of, the old cartoony anime style, but he adds his twist to it, which makes it look just insane. And yeah, so that was really cool.
Ah yes, that wolf is going through hyperspeed.
Not the wolf hyperspeed.
I like wolves.
So, a bit about the production company who did it. Madhouse is a renowned Japanese animation studio that was founded in 1972, and it was made and it has made and co-assisted in many well-received and popular shows and films. Their main works include Death Note, which I'm sure all of you have heard.
Yeah.
Ah, that's the one about the book that comes alive and eats people.
Look, it's close enough. It's
I mean,
close
yeah,
enough.
it achieves basically the same effect.
But it also
At the end of the day, the book kills people.
it also eats potato chips.
They also did the first season of One Punch Man. So, Madhouse has a very adaptive style as a studio in which They can achieve more visually stylized and independent works like Redline, where it's got a very unique auteur style. But then they also can churn out the really streamlined anime style that they do for their normal films and productions. So they're really versatile in that sense. Like One Punch Man, the first season is definitely an auteur base because it's just got a very vivid and separate style that's not really in many other anime films. They've also done collaborations and work for Studio Ghibli, Marvel, and Capcom. So they're pretty much a go-to studio when Western companies need something animated.
Apart from South Korea.
Yeah, apart from South Korea. They have worked with South Korean companies as well, actually.
Oh, okay.
So it's been proudly stated for the production of Redline that there was no CGI incorporated into the creation of the film. So all the cars are all traditionally done. There's no CGI.
Did they get the Simpsons?
They got that one guy from The Simpsons who animated the car in the New York episode.
They got him to do all the cars in this.
I had to cut that out, by the way.
Oh shit! You can cut this joke out now too.
Oh,
Keep that in.
But yeah, it's really strange because I've found with a lot of Japanese auteur films like this, there's never a lot written on them, and it's only ever the director looking into a camera saying, "Yeah, we just worked really, really hard on it."
I always appreciate the really blunt and honest behind the scenes videos when they're just like, "What's your secret?" It's just like, "I just don't sleep."
Ding. Okay, so a bit about the plot summary. So I try to summarize this as well as I can because really, Ben summarized what this film was in a nutshell. There's a race.
You just scream
There's
the word
nothing.
race.
There's a race.
Yeah, there's race, nothing, race. That's it.
I would have screamed the word race. That's
Oh,
my
and there's a bit of
plot
love
summary.
mixed in there as well. Just at the very end.
What a stupid... Okay, we'll get to that.
So, in the midst of two intergalactic wars, the film follows Sweet JP and Sonoshi McLaren as, against all odds, they attempt to compete in and win the most famous race in the galaxy, the Red Line. Between the fierce competition, political and gangster power struggles, biological weapons, and intergalactic conspiracies, JP and Sonoshi go to show the power of true love and passionate determination for
But not till the last second.
for racing.
Hang on a minute. I thought the most famous race was the Bathurst one that we have in Victoria.
Yes, it is. This is the second most then.
No, I'm partial to Spring Carnival myself. No, it reminded me of F-Zero.
It reminded me of what I imagined the anime for Speed Racer would be.
Yep.
People have... I love the one review I've seen on IMDb that says that this is wacky races on steroids.
So just all those three things combined then.
So, the film's director describes the film's love story and themes of friendship as being its core. Which is really odd because
Which
the
is
love
really odd
story
because the
terrible.
racing seems to be quite prevalent throughout the whole thing.
And the love is very secondary.
So much that it's mostly racing until the credits roll. And then there's a song about love.
Yeah, so opening thoughts. Michael, you start. Well, what do you think of it?
I appreciated... No jokes this time. I have things to say.
Let's skip him then.
yeah. It's why we bring you here. I appreciated this just for kind of the unique animation style. As I mentioned before, I'm kind of like a comic book guy. I like collecting. I like graphic novel styles, and I like all the inking and the coloring. I love that kind of stuff. And this is the closest thing we've watched that kind of emulates that style. And I appreciated it on like a purely aesthetic level. I think it gets across so much, just like it conveys so much, just like kinetic energy and so much speed and adrenaline. It's a really kind of infectious, kind of no holds barred film where you just do kind of sit there and just kind of grip the edges of your seat, and you almost feel that G-force because they go so fast, like they burst the blood vessels in their nose in one scene. But like the film is really good at just conveying speed, and it's a real kind of aesthetic, like encompassing aesthetic experience, and I really enjoyed it, even though the plot made no sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so again, like Michael, I really enjoyed all the visuals. I'm not going to say as long as he did because he just summed it up. But yeah, I was on board with the narrative up until they showed Funky Boy, and I was like, I'm out. I can't. It's just gone full Michael Bay, just explosions and action everywhere, and it's like, what's happening? Oh, I don't know.
It did lead to a lot of funny lines when, like, in all seriousness, they have to, like, voice actors have to deliver, like, we have to kill Funky Boy! It's meant to be, like, dramatic moments.
Stefan?
My opening thoughts, this is one of those anime films and like animation films in general where the entire time I just have this grin just plastered on my face. It is such a joy to watch for me because the story is crap, but the visual experience of it is just full throttle, just as Michael said, balls to the walls, just insanity.
Yeah.
And it really has that pace and energy to it. It has nonsensical plot lines and little details that didn't need to be there, but they're there just because they're fun. Funky Boy's there because it's fun to look at. Explosions are there because it's fun to look at.
Yeah.
It is very funky, isn't it? No, and everything just feels like it's just a fun thing to do rather than, oh, this would make sense otherwise.
Yeah, because a lot of we talked, I think, a little bit about this when we talked about the Beatles, but a lot of art is just governed by what'll just instinctively work and what'll look good, and not what's the most thematically complex or emotionally resonant. Sometimes things just kind of look neat, and that's why we insert them into our art.
And that's pretty much this entire film is just a visual treat. Like, the visuals are stunning, and for me, they're one of a kind, because I've never seen cars drawn so this traditionally in such a detailed way in an animation film.
To say they're cars, though, that's a bit of a stretch.
I mean,
for
he
some
drives
of
a
them.
Trans Am.
Okay, yeah, that's the only.
He drives a Ford Falcon.
That's
Actually-
the only traditional car. Every other thing is just a bunch of shapes mashed
I
together.
also love that joke that at the start you've got all these massive vehicles and it's like, and there's JP in his Trans Am, just a little car. I also find though that although the story was not really much, there is so much characterization in every
definitely.
character that you like all these random characters that they've kind of just thrown at you. Like the Batman and Robin parody guys, Lynchman and whatever, Butthead. He looks like
Lynchman and Butthead.
See,
they're hilarious. They're random. They just throw things. They're supposed to be good guys, yet they look incredibly villainous. And there's just so much just randomness to it that just makes it so ecstatic to watch.
As
And
much as I love all the races they introduced, they did it in such an expository dump where it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, here's these two. Oh, here's these two. Oh, here's this person. Oh, here's this one.
But I like that for the reason of it was showing where all these races came from and how what the film does well, I find, is that it puts you in a world that's very built. What's a lived-in world? It puts you in this lived-in world with no explanation. And all these, like, the Boing Boings, the ones who are, like, superstars, they're like princesses, or they serve a princess. Doesn't explain who this princess is, what she does, why she governs Redline, or anything. But it gives you an idea that these are important people who are doing this race. And then it just sticks JP, just this hopeless underdog, at the end. And it even shows him as the last interview. And while these other characters have, like, grand backstories, like, oh, yeah, we're superheroes. Oh, yeah, we're international stars. For JP, it's like, oh, yeah, he was thrown in jail for, like, fixed betting.
But let's skip over him.
Yeah. So,
Although, to be fair, there is a point for him being last, which is that he is part of a lot of fixed races where he's friends with this mob. Well, his friend is friends with his mob boss, where he's last for the first few laps. But in the last lap, he goes to first to make the odds go up for him, and then he loses. So
every time, yeah.
just so for the mob boss to get money.
But did you notice the sad thing about that is that it's always every time that his friend, the mechanic, has to blow up his car. So because JP just wants to win.
Yeah.
That's why he says, as long as I'm behind the wheel, I'm going to go full throttle. But
Yeah.
the guy just stops
Yeah,
every single time.
don't go half.
Yeah.
Win.
No,
No,
but
I just want to go in this race just because I enjoy the scenery and all.
Yeah,
I'm going to drive at
It
50
doesn't matter
kilometers
if I
per
win
hour.
as long as everybody had fun.
Oh no, there's a giant monster.
Oh
That's
no,
pretty fun.
Space Hitler. Oh.
I don't want to go through this plot-wise because we don't really need to. I just want to say things that were interesting animation-wise. So we're going to analyze this film through Ben's plot summary of first race, nothing, and second race.
Okay, the nothing.
That's
we
it.
should explain the nothing.
No,
it's
no,
just
no.
the setup for Redline.
Yeah, so
It's
we'll
not
get
nothing.
to that. But first race, what did you guys think
So
was
is it
interesting
yellow
about the
line,
first
no
race?
line, red line?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, the opening shot, which I really love, is it
So
just has all the secondary like all the people in the crowd. And what this film does incredibly well is secondary action. Like, all those people are moving independently. And to do that in traditional animation is impossible. Like, that shot with all the crowd would
Well,
have
it's not
taken
impossible.
years.
They did it.
Well, yeah. But it's not an easy feat. That is incredibly difficult.
All right,
Are
the Redline Racers. You got Dick Dastardly and
talking
Muttley.
about Yellow Line.
You got Penelope Pitstop. You got the Slag Brothers. You got Lazy Luke and Blubber Bear in the Arkansas Chuggabug. You got Professor Pat and the Gruesome Twosome.
Actually, speaking of that, I want to mention that I did notice they were animating on twos for a lot of it, just because of how detailed all the frames were.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, which is, I think, a very good trade-off.
It also works well for the how they use the strong silhouettes, because you see a bit of that jitter, which gives it that extra character, I find.
Yeah, definitely. And also, you don't even really notice it because of how dynamic and adrenaline pumped it is. Yeah, so like the fact that you can get away with it without anyone noticing is a really good testament to the director.
Something I really love about this first sequence, the first race, is how every time each of the characters puts their nitro fuel into their tank, there's this always gorgeous scene where it shows like the little capsule going through the car.
Yeah, that looks great.
In the tubes.
What a creative way to show like a nitros injection. It looks amazing.
The car itself, like, it doesn't move straight away. It like fumbles and rumbles all over the place, and it like goes upside down before blasting off.
It does like it's almost like a Looney Tunes thing
Yeah.
when like it folds in the middle, so like the back wheel and the front wheel are like next to each other, then it stretches out and just.
So there's an animation principle called anticipation, which is where you like do a little action before a main action, so you know that's going to happen.
Basically a preparation action. To do an action, you
Yeah.
do the opposite before you do it.
But they do this to the extreme.
Yeah, where there's almost like a 10-second
Like wind up.
anticipation for this 1 second burst.
It reminds me of one of the Looney Tunes where I think it's Bugs Bunny's playing baseball and he goes to like wind up for a hit and he just like spins around himself multiple times.
Yeah.
It's like that, yeah.
It's just, and that's what gives it that cartoonish just insanity that I love, that spontaneity.
Yeah,
just
well,
craziness.
you can just like metal is like rubbery and fluid.
And another thing I like, I will let you guys talk, sorry, but I love the attention to detail and the realism in, like, there's this particular scene where one of the characters slams on this button. Now, they could have just had him slam on the button, but no, they have it that there's a glass padding there, and when he slams the button, the glass shatters.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's great.
Yeah.
I just love the intensity of all of it. Like they're so angry the whole time.
Like, everything's just, like, hard hitting, just rigid, just insane.
I would 100%
love it.
I would 100% watch this again. It was a lot of fun.
Also, the soundtrack in the Yellow Line. Yellow Line has my favorite song, where it's just that really hard pulsing drum beat, and then it has like this really nice dubstep that works really well with it. That's the only time I'm going to say that dubstep works well, but it works incredibly well with the energy that this creates.
Yeah,
Something-
we're more Elton John
Yeah.
type people.
I want to see a cut of this film that's done to Saturday Night's All Right for Fun.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Something I really think they conveyed well was the rumbling of the cars and like all the vibrations, because when you're watching it and you're seeing the cars rumble as they go across these harsh wastelands, you can really like it actually feels like you're in that car as well, and you are like you can feel all the vibrations and everything.
Yeah, like you can feel just like the raw horsepower. There's that bit when he's showing him like the newly reconstructed engine when like the mechanic's showing him the newly reconstructed engine in the garage, and he's just having it running. He's like, "Sounds pretty good, huh?" And they're just like screaming over it because it's so
and there's
loud.
like light bursting
Yeah.
from them.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then,
the
like,
light there was really well
And then when he
done.
turns it off, it's just smoke just like comes out of the undercarriage. It's great.
Even when they're in the car, as Ben said with the rumbling, even when they're in the car, in the cars, and it shows, it's just supposed to be an idle shot of them, like a portrait shot of them driving. It shows them like bumping up and down, and that bumping up and down is not just a simple moving the character up and down.
They're actually doing that?
Yeah,
Animating that?
Yeah, and each frame
Wow.
has a different, like, he'll go down slightly here and then more here, and it really gives that organic sense of rumble that it works so well. It's such an incredible attention to detail.
The terrain is actually kind of random and changing.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Something else that they also did really well was differentiating each racer from each other. Like, usually in car races, like when I watch car races in most movies, including Cars, you can't really tell the difference between anyone.
No,
But
they're
with
kind
here,
of just faceless.
each character, not only does each character have a unique character design, but also their cars as well.
Some of the ones of noteworthy in the main Redline race that I liked is
Yellow Line.
Yellow Line, but I was going to say just as an example.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Like, Sonoshi how all her buns have like cute chibi little faces on them.
Yeah.
That's just a nice thing. And how the two guys with the square cut haircuts,
Oh yeah.
they have like, I don't know, it looks like a crab and they have the pedal
How
power.
can anything pedal power would get up to like Mark 5?
Exactly. And
great.
they're just swearing the entire time. Like, yeah, we can do this.
I like what's the protagonist's name again?
JP.
JP, yeah.
JP.
Sweet JP.
JP Rowley.
What's his JP stand for?
JP.
JP. No, I love the bit when he's about to, just before the big crash, when he's about to cross the finish line in the initial race, and he's going so far that the blood vessels in his nose burst.
Yeah.
I thought. Yeah,
And then you can hear like a little pop, and like I kind of equate that. You always talk about blood noses in anime, alluding to kind of
sexual.
yeah, like sexual undertones.
Oh,
and
but
sexual
this
attraction.
isn't. This is
No,
just...
that I felt both. It's both kind of like a sexual thrill. Yeah, it is almost like a climactic sexualized
I
thrill
can see what
to,
you mean
to
by
get
that.
over that line. Yeah.
But he doesn't. His car gets blown up, and it does this really great slow motion thing of all the cars just passing by him.
Yeah, that was so sad.
Yeah, it's a premature ejection.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness!
I was gonna make that joke, but I held back. Oh, and then we have the opening title sequence, which is amazing. It's just a white background
It's a
with these red
minimalistic thing.
red silhouettes of the racers and their cars just going past with smoke behind them. It's really well done and really effective.
The thing I don't like about that is how they introduce the typeface. It's just this really bland looking like red line.
Well, it is called Redline.
I know, but it's like you got this grand looking minimalistic cars in this red. It looks dynamic, and then just red line.
Yeah,
There it is.
that was the last shot completed when just everyone is sleep deprived and has nothing left. It's like, boss, we still gotta do this title sequence. I fucking just wanna just write red line on a black sheet.
Just make sure it's red. I did it yellow. Oh
Oh,
crap!
fair enough. Just do
Oh,
it.
this is the one thing we have to do digital. Just change the color of it.
It's gotta be subtitled anyway. I don't care. Boss,
Yeah.
we forgot to put in the love subplot. The last minute of the film, just put it there.
Have a kiss or something.
I don't care. I don't care.
As long as we get that funky boy scene.
But there's
It's
a lot of
important
plot
we get that.
resolutions that we still have to write. Just do it. It's been 7 years.
Okay, so I guess we're up to the middle section
Which
of the
is
film.
a bunch of nothing, but it has some really nice visuals of nothing.
And also a lot of good character moments as
Yeah.
well.
Nice
So-
talks with mechanics.
In terms of a basic plot for this scene, it's basically just JP's trusting his friend Mechanic to get him through Redline. The Mechanic has dealings with the Mafia, the gangsters, and so they want them to fix the race again. And meanwhile, the Redline is going to be held on Robo-World, which is a totalitarian government who doesn't want this
I
race
love-
here
I
because they
love-
want to hide all their biological weapons.
I loved that villain when he's trying to come off as if he's like a peaceful benefactor that just wants to rule his people.
But it's just
you know, in
yelling.
peace. And he's just like slammed his fist on a podium, like screaming to the world. He's like, well, we're a peaceful species and we'll kill anyone that says otherwise.
I'll hang all the Redline people.
At first, I thought they actually were going to be peaceful, but just appeared angry. But then when they actually were like harboring secrets and stuff, I was like,
He was like screaming to an audience.
I know,
Like-
but it would have been funny if they were actually peaceful, but just an overly aggressive type
No, I
of
think
people.
I think it was funny that they were just a very, very,
Very-
angry, war-driven nation. But basically, JP goes with the mechanic and the old guy who fixes his car to one of the refugee moons of Robo World, and that's where they prepare for the race. And it just shows a few sequences of him meeting Sonashi, developing their so-called love story, and meeting all the racers who are going to be in this big red line race. So, any key animation parts you wanted to mention here?
Well,
Mats.
I was gonna. Okay, talk about Mats.
Oh, I just like the mats.
One I
They're
really
very
liked-
detailed, like
yes.
every
The
anime.
one I really
Matt
liked-
Berry and Matt Brayley.
Exactly. All the best mats.
Not those mats.
No, but I especially like I forget which scene it's in, but I think it's when he's talking to when they're in the garage looking at the to do the engine repairs, and you can see like a bunch of partly torn and faded stickers along the car and a lot of the equipment.
Yeah.
Stuff like that I really like because that is how garages look. It helps. Anime's really good at detailed mats because, like you said before, it makes the world feel lived in because they're so detailed and they're so dirty and
Visceralness.
that worn, lived-in aesthetic. Yeah, 'cause-
Everyone in this film and everything in this film feels like it's been through a hard time.
Yeah. I love in sci-fi. The worst thing in sci-fi is when everything's just stark and clean and
Clean, yeah.
perfect and
Take
polished.
that, George Lucas in the prequels.
Yeah.
Ben, you love Star Wars.
That's
Yeah, I know.
that's why the original trilogy, the aesthetic of Star Wars works, is because
Yeah.
everything is just so dirty and just derelict. It's great.
One of the mats I really liked in this is when they're at the fancy restaurant, the Oasis.
Yeah, I want to talk about this
and
restaurant.
it shows all the fish behind the glass.
Mm.
The blues there are just so pretty. Also, the food there looks horrific, but I love how the shellfish eats them. Like, he twirls them on a giant fork, and then his face, like, grows to a massive size just to eat it.
I will say, though, the meal looks normal at first, the one that gets served to Sonishi.
Anime food usually looks beautiful.
Yeah,
But this
then
looks weird and grimy, and it
it
splurts
looks
out.
alright, but then it comes alive. I wasn't expecting
The
that.
spaghetti spits at her.
That's funny. I feel like a lot of Japanese animation, like, apologies if I'm generalizing, but it seems to have this kind of farcical quality to it. Obviously there is serious stuff and there is dramatic stuff, but a lot of the mainstream stuff just seems to be having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that an accurate statement?
No, that makes sense. Like, a lot of these, and especially these auteur-driven projects, are very much, if I'm going to make a film, I want everyone who works on it to have a fun time doing it. So that's why they add these sort
I
of
want you to
things.
have a fun 22-hour shift.
You're here your whole life. Might as well do something fun.
And
with
then
it.
we'll hook you up to the IV machine.
Please,
for
sir,
the
can I go
last
home?
2
It's been
hours.
7 years.
I also really enjoyed the introduction to the ex-cop, undercover cop guy.
Gorilla Driver.
Whatever, yeah, and like I was just always crying.
Oh no, that was one of the
Oh,
army
sorry.
people. Yeah.
Army people, yeah. And I was always crying. I thought that was really fun. Like, oh yeah, when he cries, he gets stronger. And then everything he's in, he's angry, but he's crying.
He's crying at the people who he was in the war with, saying, "You left me here. Why'd you go?"
So JP, while he's riding around, you know what? I am not sure if JP is a good driver at all, because in the 3 times we see him drive, not in the races, but in this middle part, first time he gets his motorcycle. Second time he smashes his bloody prototype car. Third time he smashes the motorcycle. He is not a good driver if he's just smashing all
Look,
his
I think that
vehicles.
just
How did
shows
you
he's-
qualify for Yellow Line if you keep wrecking this many cars?
I think that just shows that he's reckless. Rather
Yeah,
than a
exactly.
terrible
He
driver.
shouldn't be in these
You know what?
races.
In his defense, they are reasonably dangerous races.
Okay, but this wasn't even in the races. This is just him going from one place to another on a flat desert
That's
bed.
all a race is.
Nonetheless, he shouldn't have crashed. And he's not. I don't trust him. I wouldn't trust him to drive me anywhere.
No,
No,
because he
who
drives at Mark 5.
And he drives a Trans Am. Who would trust that?
He'd get you here pretty quick, though, to do the podcast every week.
Yeah, but I'll probably die from him crashing.
Oh yeah, that's
No, he'll just crash halfway through, and you'll just catapult the rest of the way there.
Stefan.
That's how both his races finish.
Stefan, catch me with a net.
What is it? You just set up a little safety net for Ben in the backyard. So every Friday, he just lands in it. How do you get back, though? Trebuchet. Next question.
I liked in the interviews where it has interviews with each of the races. Some of the details in it I thought were really fun. I like how the machine head, who's the top racer, he's this big blocky geometric character, has this little puffy dog.
It's a handbag dog. It's
Yeah.
one he would carry around in a purse.
But he's this big burly guy that looks like a rock, and he's just got this little dog. And I like how the Boing Boings,
Boing
those
Boings.
whoever they
There's
are.
no G.
the Plongsters from ABC Kids.
Yes,
oh my
those.
god.
No, but when they do their dance sequence, the perspective there is so weird how their hips go forward into the camera.
Yeah.
Like, that's that sort of perspective thing that the director is, like, renowned for.
There's
He
a
loves
lot
that
of
sort
weird
of thing.
warped perspective and, like, what looks like gravitational lensing and things like that. It looks very strange.
It's like
think
someone plays with the focal lens to ridiculous levels.
Yeah, the one especially is when, I'm not sure if it's in the yellow line or red line race, but when the protagonist is going so fast that, like, it almost does that kind of like
Spaghettification.
yeah, it's almost like, yeah, we talked about, like, again, we mentioned gravitational lensing. Yeah, when it's just the proportions of him are just stretched, and he's like the tip of his, like, pompadour, like, goes out like 7 feet.
Yeah, it's like ultimate 1-point perspective.
Yeah,
You just draw them out and keep drawing them out.
Yeah, and it's the cover of the DVD. So if you want to know what shot we're talking about.
And then in the interviews, we see she's watching her own interview and is like, oh, that's great they got a shot of my ass, really sarcastically. Cuts to her topless. I would imagine that would be tongue-in-cheek, that joke.
Look, Ben, the whole film is tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah. That's another one of our famous segments, which is let's awkwardly discuss the rampant sexualization in anime.
No,
but
at least they're not teenagers.
Yeah,
that's
there's
the
that.
point.
Like there was even that bit when like who were those two characters that did that?
The
Like
boings.
was that them who did the Sharon Stone?
Yeah, the basic
The
instinct.
basic
Yeah.
instinct leg crosses.
And even their car in the Redline race, it transforms, and then they're in the breasts of it.
It's just silly. It's not meant to be taken for.
I know.
It's just silly.
Look, at least they kind of parodied the sexualization of the boings and stuff. Where like it was ridiculous to a point where you knew it was making fun of that particular trope.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just move on to Redline. Redline's where visuals just get insane. It starts off one of my favorite shots of the film, which is them being like thrown out of the plane and they're all diving into the race and there's like lasers shooting at them. It's just chaos, and I love how instead of having a single still shot, the camera actually pans to show all the different cars, like it like pans inwards.
I love that. Well, like, what a creative way! Just like, how can we start the race? Is it them like driving up to the? Is it them driving up to the starting line? Is it all the racers getting their cars ready? No, let's just kick them out of an airplane.
And see if they survive.
So they survive all these military guys shooting lasers.
It's
at
weird
them.
that like one of the qualifiers for the race is just surviving getting to the starting line.
Good luck.
It's not just surviving the race; it's just getting there.
And also, there's whose queen is there to help them?
That's the Boing
Oh, the
Boings.
red. No, the red line. So the Boing queen is
Queen
there as well.
is one of the head of the Redline committee.
Yeah, and she has this heart-shaped ship as well, and she's also trying to dodge all the laser fire. That was a
Yeah.
really fun sequence, I thought.
There's a lot of really fun just ship how they avoid things. Like I love when JP tries to get ahead. Like he needs to get past this dam because he's way behind. He activates his nostril and he like spins like a frisbee across the entire
Oh, that
lake.
was really fun.
Like, I wish there was like 5 seconds just showing what that looked like from his perspective. Because it would just be a blur.
You just be stuck against the side of the car, like, ah.
It's just really kinetic, and it's just an interest. Like, you could just say, let's get car from point A to point B, but they do that in such unique ways for every car and every character. It's incredible. Like how the two Bobcat boy band people like dig underground to get to the point, and they're still doing like the pedal power thing. It's so stupid.
Again, there's really nice they really differentiate every single character from each other.
Should we at all mention Funky Boy now?
This is where we get up to Funky Boy.
Okay, Funky Boy, he didn't need to be in this film. He didn't do anything.
Funky Boy is a massive biological weapon that they're trying to keep under wraps because again they're under a peace treaty.
Oh, is it meant to be like Fat Man and Little Boy? Is that what it's?
I don't
Is that
know.
what it's referencing?
I don't know.
Well, the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in World War II.
You know, it might be.
Yeah, because it sounds similar.
Its character design, it's meant to be like this giant weapon thing. It is so weird because I cannot, if you were to try and trace the outline, I do not know what this thing looks like. It looks like a ball of energy with little spindly arms, and then everything else is just light effects. And then just beaming out of it, and then it just shoots lasers and blows everything up.
So it crawls out from the underground base and then it disrupts the races. How convenient is that?
But then the government has a good idea. They send their lieutenant to get really weirdly attached to this like Leviathan creature, and then the Leviathan creature attacks Funky Boy in a battle.
Because the Funky Boy has revealed their secrets to the world. Because 82% of the universe is watching, I believe. And also,
That's insane numbers.
I know.
You
Also-
thought the Super Bowl commercial spots were expensive.
also the lieutenant looks exactly like a Robo World's version of JP.
Yeah, that was weird character
And
design.
there's nothing that like relates them or anything.
No,
They just happen to do a similar character design.
The pompadour is just a popular thing in this
in
world.
space.
No, but it's like meant to be a 50s parody. Like it looks like a 50s.
I didn't get a
Grease
50s.
kind of
I
thing.
didn't get a 50s. Streamline aesthetic.
JP's
from
always
it.
combing his hair. He's
Look,
got the leather jacket.
he looks like a greaser, but nothing else about the world or the aesthetics
Oh, yeah.
screams, 50s.
Except maybe the mob stuff. Maybe
You've already
that.
mentioned about 3 things.
Yeah.
Well, that's 2 things.
It's kind of.
Eh.
But I really hate that scene. Like it's ingrained in my memory when the tentacles like merge with the lieutenant and his face
Yeah,
distorts.
it's
and,
literally
gets pulled.
3 seconds, but Stefan hates it so
I
much.
hate it. Like body horror transformation is bad enough in anime because they do it so realistically. As
Yeah,
shown
our
in
first
Akira.
our first episode was Akira. Yeah.
And they do it here, and because it's got that really hard-hitting graphic style, it's just so disturbing. I don't like it. It's great to look at, but I don't like it.
So, and then for some reason you don't really see the end of it, but the lieutenant and Funky Boy have this final battle, and they're just suddenly gone all of a sudden.
Yeah, they
leaving.
just disappear.
They thought they killed all the racers, but no, all the racers are alive, and they're like, "Oh, I guess we better finish this race. Better pop our cars back over and continue the race."
And the finish of the race is just a cathartic blend of how many lens flares can we throw at the camera to how many final forms can we give Machine Head. Like he...
we should say though that I'm never gonna get her name
Sonoshi.
right. Sonoshi, her car does get damaged, and then JP goes, "Oh, you can hop in my car. Why? Because love."
Yeah, we didn't even mention this whole love story is banked on the fact that they have these flashbacks to when they were in the past and who they wanted to be. And
There's one flashback involving Sonoshi.
yeah, but you mentioned that there's like gold outlines.
Yeah, I actually thought that was a really great way to show a flashback by having literally golden outlines to show these golden memories he has.
Yeah, that was really nice. But it was still a terrible love story regardless.
Oh, definitely.
But that ending scene where it's JP and Sonoshi really just blasting up trying to verse Machine Head. Machine Head kept like spewing blue fire as he kept like exploding towards the finish line, and then JP is just like his hair like goes completely off his head.
It actually kind of reminded me of the finale for Avatar: The Last Airbender, where Zuko and his sister have a fight where there's the orange fire and the blue fire.
I haven't actually seen that. I do not remember that episode.
How dare you? We watched it in uni while we were working, and you were probably working. How dare you?
How dare I do what I was meant to do?
Oh,
Well, no, I get
anyway,
what you mean.
yeah, there's-
that aesthetic contrast.
Yeah, of the different colored fires just right next to each other. Yeah, I thought that was visually like a really great way of showing like these two people like right next to each other, dead on with each other, trying to get first.
Anything else with this that you really like? The animation of this, Michael?
I think I've pretty much said, you know, why I appreciate it, and you know, it's just unparalleled in how good it is at conveying kinetic energy and speed.
I just wanted to mention literally the last 2 minutes of it. How
Oh yeah, can we talk about that to end?
just how like throughout the film we have like is Frisbee, who is JB's mate.
Now you're just
in
saying
the-
words.
That's his name, Frisbee.
Yeah, his name's Frisbee.
Oh, Frisbee and
He,
Mike.
anyway, he put a bomb in the car, hoping to explode him before it ends. But in the end, that bomb helps him to become first in the race. It's like, oh, we need an extra bit of power to beat Machine Head. And then he explodes a bomb. Oh, that helped us propel us forward. Thank you very much.
And they literally win only
Jumping in the air.
only because JP's ducktail is so long.
Yeah, the tip of his pompadour is so large.
It makes him win the race.
And then they stay in the air after jumping from the crash. And then they embrace and kiss and say, I love you. I love you too. The end.
You know, that was
It feels
a
like there's a reel missing.
I know.
that was a really nice, like, floating scene with them,
really
though.
nice
But
animation,
I can
but-
actually explain why they floating, though. It's not a no reason.
Yeah, why? Because they do it at the start, kind of as well, almost.
No, because there's like, imagine that past the red line is like a field where because you're going so fast to get there, it like completely slows you down and puts you in like an anti-gravity state.
Oh, clever! And that's never said directly.
It's never said. It's just, it's a thing. I read it somewhere and it also inferred it in previous scenes, but that's how they
That's
do
neat.
it.
I like that.
Okay,
That's
I
why
do
they're
like
floating
that.
and flying
Yep,
at the
I
end.
thought it was just a symbolic thing that
Yeah,
like
they're in love.
they're in love and they're gazing into each other's eyes and time slows down. But but from an outside observer, they're just traveling at Mach 5 and going to die when they hit the ground.
Can I mention just in the yellow race, we knew there was going to be a love story simply because there was a very noticeable glance from one of them to the other at the very start.
And the story never progresses from that glance. That's as much as they get.
Yeah.
I think they say like 2 words to each other.
Do you like racing? Me too! It's the extent of their relationship.
But look, it's not. You don't watch this film for the story. You watch it simply for the visual euphoria.
Euphoria?
Euphoria.
Yeah.
Are you going to continue that sentence?
No.
Okay. And I believe that is all we want to discuss, unless you have anything you want to mention.
No.
Would you recommend it? I would definitely recommend this film. It's just a gorgeous
Do we do
film.
recommendations at the end?
No.
No, we usually do final
But we
thoughts.
can if we want.
Go watch it. Like, I'm a guy that, again, hasn't seen much anime, and this is probably... Actually, I really liked Akira, but this is up there with one
This is probably the funnest anime you've watched.
Yeah, it was
Apart from Yu-Gi-Oh! My bad.
Yeah, exactly. Apart from the one episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! I watched in 2004. But, just like I like the word you use, which is just euphoric. Just you get such an adrenaline rush from watching it. You can just feel the speed and the G-force. It's
When he says you
it's a
can
lot of
feel the
fun.
speed, he's not talking about the drug. We probably
Although
don't
there is
condone
a
drugs
scene
on
where
this
the gangster
podcast.
gets cocaine rubbed on his teeth.
Yeah, and apparently Stefan didn't know that was cocaine.
No, I didn't even know. I thought they were brushing his teeth for some reason.
I just want to mention that we are very sheltered. Yes, I would definitely recommend this if you're looking for something interesting, like visually to watch. If you're looking for a good plot, do not watch this.
Just no.
Again, it's like if you wanted to watch something like Loving Vincent or something like that, where it's very visually interesting. Okay, now we've finished talking about Redline. That is the end of the podcast.
So what are we covering next episode?
So next episode, Michael has decided he wants to talk about the Rick and Morty seasons that are currently out, which is seasons 1 to 3.
Which is, it's kind of different next week. And by next week, I mean immediately after we finish recording this, so Ben doesn't have to drive here every week. Where I don't really like Rick and Morty that much. It doesn't resonate with me, but Ben loves it. So I've chosen Rick and Morty, handing it across to Ben. He's picked the episodes for us to watch, and he's going to convince all of us that it is a good show and worthy of your time. Well, I'm just going to complain about it. What are the thousands and thousands of social media platforms we're on?
So if you would like to contact us, whether it is for good or for ill, there is our email, which is animate3pod@gmail.com. We are also on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We're now on Instagram as well. Don't know why, but I made one, and that's that.
Well, that's why we're on it, because you made one.
And we are also on most other podcasting sites available, except for Google Podcasts, because for some reason they won't allow Australians to. So that's fun, I guess. And you can also rate us on iTunes. Please leave a 5-star review if you enjoyed it. And if you leave something other than that, we will be sad and then cry into the microphones.
Yeah, please leave a 5-star review that wasn't me or my partner.
And that is all from us. So, goodbye.
Yellow Brick Road.
Just turn the mic off. Also, I realised before I should have said frame interpolation instead of extrapolation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
We're not going to edit that back in.
No, I'm not. Don't take interpolation and put it back over extrapolation.
You should do that, Stefan.
No.
Sorry, it just seems so out of place. Unless you accidentally take the wrong word and it's just like, and it's called adaptive frame space Hitler.
Space.
Okay.